Welcome back to Legends of Adtech, the podcast that goes beyond the buzzwords to the people at the heart of digital advertising, in partnership with this season's sponsor, Revving. I'm your host, Julia Linehan, founder and CEO of The Digital Voice, and today we're stepping outside. Digital out-of-home has had a serious glow-up in the last few years, and it now accounts for a whopping 2/3 of out-of-home spend. It's programmatic, it's data-led, it's apparently measurable, and it's one of the few channels that hasn't been swallowed up by walled gardens. But is it as powerful as people say? Are consumers really noticing it? Or is digital out-of-home really evolving into performance marketing? Or even worse, is it just digital billboards with better PR? To help us unpack that, I'm joined today by Tom Barbour, Sales Director UK of Vistar Media. Now, to his way of intro to Tom, who don't know him, there won't be many of you, Tom is a commercial leader with over 14 years experience in ad tech. He's built revenue at digital-first powerhouses like GumGum, Bliss, before making what some might call a very bold move into programmatic digital out-of-home. He's now leading the UK charge for Vistar Media, one of the founding players in programmatic digital out-of-home, and it's got its own DSP, its SSP, measurement capabilities and creative studio. So we're going to hear all about that. But Tom, welcome to Legends of Adtech.
What an introduction, Jude. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm blushing over here. That's very sweet of you.
I've done my job well. Good to have you here.
It's not your first time, is it?
It's not my first rodeo, no, but you're gonna wonder whether you chose the right channel to be on this when I make you do the usual challenge we give to all of our guests. You've got 60 seconds or less. Tell us about yourself and tell us how you got to where you are today.
Well, unfortunately, not as many awards as you, as I can see in your background, but I do have some nice flowers here. Yeah, my name's Tom Barbour. I'm a sales director at Vistar. I've been in here now coming up for 2 years, helping to launch the programmatic digital out-of-home offering in the UK. The business is really big globally, so the opportunity really was to help launch, the business just in this market. Historically, I've worked in the display and video space, helping grow agency, holdco businesses in those areas. And yeah, spotted the opportunity to come into the programmatic out-of-home space, which I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about. But it's been amazing so far, and I really do not regret the move. It's been the best thing I've ever done in my career.
Well, it's interesting because I put in my intro, it was a bold move, or some might say a bold move. And I think that's one of my first questions actually is going to be, what made you think that's where I want to be? What was the driver?
Honestly, it felt like a bit of a risk, but it didn't feel like that bold a move to me. What felt like more of a bold move was sitting where I was in a place that potentially wasn't growing. And so I actually really loved the idea of moving into a future-facing growing area of the industry. As I mentioned a second ago, Vistar is massive globally. It's one of the pioneers of the whole programmatic ecosystem, but they just didn't have much of a presence in the UK. So all I really needed to do, to make it sound simple, is bring the tech and the success that they'd been having in other markets to the UK, which I knew really well. I knew the clients. The opportunity here was that the UK market's quite far behind in terms of programmatic adoption. So even just chipping away at a couple of extra percent growth would have been good for the commission numbers and good for the growth numbers of Vistar. So yeah, to be honest, it felt like a bold move. It didn't feel like a massive risk, and it's paid off. So yeah, I'm really happy with what happened.
So you mentioned there, didn't you, that you sort of say it's the same tech, it's the same principles. Would you say that maybe digital out of home is sort of like the same ad tech machine but applied to screens outside? How similar is it?
I mean, it's a pretty fair comparison. And the reason they've hired me and people with my profile is that we understand programmatic. I've been working in the programmatic space since its inception. The same technology, DSPs, SSPs, the same way that ads are transacted, real-time bidding, all those kind of things are all applicable to the programmatic out-of-home world. But you know what isn't the same? There's no click-through rates, no viewability, no brand safety, no trafficking, none of that rubbish. It is so
no
refreshing.
Measurement.
Oh my God. Oh, sure. So it's actually a lot easier. The thing that I found most challenging is learning, the landscape in terms of media owners and screens and all that stuff. But, once you get that, the rest of it's straightforward. So
that's really interesting because I think a lot of times in our industry, a lot of falsehoods are born out of just completely misunderstanding it. What's the biggest misconception about digital out of home, of what it is and what it's not?
I think some people can see it as a bit expensive, but actually the CPMs are largely a lot lower than a lot of display campaigns that I've worked on in the past, so it's pretty easy to debunk. I think some out-of-home teams as well can see it as a bit overpriced, and that's easy to solve with just the efficiencies that it drives. And actually, I think a lot of people might see it as just a sort of glorified awareness channel. And actually, there are a lot of things that you can do to push performance in the digital out of home space. It contributes heavily towards the wider funnel for performance metrics. So yeah, I'd say pricing and the fact that people just see it for awareness.
So it's interesting though, because there's a lot of pressure. There always has been. I mean, I started in digital advertising in 1995. Now, at the time, our click-through rates were about 45%. Gorgeous times, and it's obviously gone downhill. And that's one of the challenges with display advertising is there's huge pressure now on its lower CPMs, it's lower performance, everything's been dumbed down. You're charging higher CPMs, that means it's under pressure to perform better. But you mentioned that actually that you don't have that click-through rate, you don't have that pressure. But surely there's that, how do you qualify it? And let's come on to that question of measurability.
Sure. So yeah, none of those digital metrics that arguably are questionable anyway, from experience working in it. The IAB did a big campaign, didn't they? Don't be a clickhead, which I quite liked. So how important are clicks at the end of the day? But actually, the programmatic technology has offered a lot in terms of measurability to the out-of-home world. With the digital pipes that are connected, you can look at measuring brand awareness, consideration, purchase intent with brand studies. We're working with a number of brand impact partners to do that on a panel based or even actually through programmatic pipes. We work with footfall attribution partners, we work with search uplift partners, we work with sales uplift partners. So there's actually a lot that you can measure now in the out-of-home world. Arguably, sales is probably more important and better to look at than a click. So, I don't think that's been a huge barrier to growth. And actually, it's helped.
Can't get click farms on digital out of home.
No click farms either. Yeah, we've all seen those little cupboards that have got thousands of iPhones in. I don't think those exist in out of homes.
I don't think they do. So this is and by the way, I did a panel recently, and I was like, the person on the panel was programmatic digital at home. This is a while ago, and I kept going, Purdue, Purdue. Does it get, do you ever abbreviate it to Purdue? And do you, if you had to dumb it down and do it, what WTF? I'll try not to swear. WTF is programmatic digital out of home.
Okay, well, first of all, out of home are big canvases on the street, right? It's been around for a long time. They're one of the most trusted forms of advertising. People can't miss them, they can't skip them. Programmatic digital out of home are the digital screens that those paper and paste screens have turned into that are then powered by programmatic technology and also powered by increased creativity, data, and measurement tools that you can throw in alongside it. So amazing historical attention driving channel powered by all of the best bits of the digital ecosystem. And yeah, they're really hard to ignore. It's really easy to get people excited about out of home, which is one of the best things I've found in this sales role. Going into a meeting and just showing a slide and people get excited is really quite refreshing.
When you go in and you present, is it flashy, flashy, shiny thing? Look at the way that you can creatively put the creative execution of it. Or is it the fact that you go down a route of saying, yeah, but look what we can do on hyper targeting and geo-targeting and time of day and mobility and creativity and going into 3D or whatever it is. What is it that makes them go, ooh?
It's obviously always the creative, isn't it?
But like anyone's going to go, it's the hyper targeting.
But the creative and the data are the things that talk to each other. And actually, if you get the data right, it enhances the creative. And actually, that is the inflection point for people to get most excited. We do a lot with hyper local campaigns, as you've just mentioned there. But if you can then get the creative to talk to that location, then you're showing people something interesting in the data space that is also really creatively interesting as well. So it's actually where I think both the data and the creativity meet each other. That is the thing that you get people out of their seats for.
If you're being a cynic, how many times do you see you show them the gorgeous potential, they get all excited, and then they relook at budgets, and what they end up doing is resizing a digital asset and just sending that? How many times does that happen? And is it really delivering? And people going, I know it can do something fab creatively. and I'm going to make sure I deliver that.
But I mean, there is that, isn't it? And then actually, some of the big brands are difficult to, relinquish control of their creative assets. Without giving Vista a massive plug here, like we've got our own studio that are resizing, repurposing, and also building DCO 3D, world leading digital out of home creative and free of charge. So we don't see that as a barrier. I'm sure there are other partners out there. This isn't a Vista sales podcast. I'm sure there's other partners out there doing that as well.
That's all right. You can get that in there. Now, do you know what? I think that's actually really important because I think it's a lot of people, the barrier to doing anything is that either lack of expert hands, lack of talent, lack of tech is often a barrier. And I think maybe that's good that it's going, look, we can do all these things for you. So how many of your client partners or clients not just buy the inventory, not just looking at that way, going actually, and we need the help from the studio?
Yeah, over half, over half.
Over half,
Which
okay.
is really good. And actually, that is helping people to adopt the channel, more quickly as well. You all know Julia from working with all the display partners. We've worked together in the past. Lots of them have their own studios. Everywhere I've worked, they've had their own studio. It's been an amazing addition to the contextual tech or the location tech, whatever, we might have been doing in the display space. In out of home, it's a bit more rare, and the creative agencies are charging a lot more for this as well, particularly when you talk about 3D and DCO. So having it as something that we offer as added value on campaigns with our strategic out of home creative experts, it's a really big winner for us. So yeah, that's really helped sort of grow everything that we're doing.
So I've got to ask though, are the other 50% that aren't using your studio using AI generated stuff? And is AI generated billboards game changers or gimmicks?
So actually, I quizzed my creative team on this because it's not something that I've come across a lot. They have attention powered insight tools that we use to help inform the creative. So there is some level of AI that we use in our builds. I'm not 100% sure how many of them are using AI, our clients, in the builds. It wouldn't surprise me if it's becoming more and more common. We've all seen the AI slop that gets produced on social media. So look, if it's going to help make things look better, streamline builds, make them quicker and cheaper without being a load of rubbish, then go for it.
So that's, yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Three things. Does it make it more efficient? Is it quicker? But does it make the creative better? At the moment, personally, I think number three is lacking. Now, I think AI in general for content, creative, words and pictures, it's number three that to me doesn't hit the mark. Definitely efficiency, definitely cost saving, but creative output, I'm not sure.
I'm sure it'll get there in the end.
Well, it might. Yeah, I don't know whether we applaud that or not because there's a double-edged sword. So here's a question for you: what's one what one digital out-of-home campaign springs to mind that made you actually stop in your tracks and go, "That is fudging brilliant," and why did it work for you?
Well, I don't know if you've seen one that's live at the moment, which is just very straightforward and a bit weird, but it's hashtag eyes egging. Have you seen this anywhere? Honestly, I still don't know what it is, by the way. All it is they've obviously spent a lot of money on it. It's across all of the major digital media owners, at least in London where I live. It's hashtag eyes egging. People go and have a look at it. I couldn't find much about it when I looked online. It is completely bizarre. It's one thing that stopped me in my tracks.
Was it because you didn't know what it was? And it made you think, I hate not knowing something that I think is possibly cool and trending with the kids.
Yeah, I think that was actually it. And I think there's something building here. I think maybe next week we will get to find out what it is.
Maybe it's that, yeah. I think those that make you go, what the fuck is it that trying to tell me? Or I think I need to know this or I'm not cool. I generally go back, I've got a 19 and 20-year-old. So if I don't know something, I go to them. But I agree. Make people want to find out more. Don't put it all on a plate and display it. That's possibly good, interesting. I'm going to go and look for that one. Eyes egging. So if we think so at the start, and I mentioned, this huge, what is it, two-thirds of out of home is digital out of home, and I love these trajectories. We've seen them, Tom. You've been right there by my side for a lot of this industry. Big trajectories. What's the ceiling, and when's it going to happen? And is there any chance it could start going like that?
I mean, I think it's a really good question. Look, paper and paste, the traditional means of buying and planning out of home will always be there. I think there's a real place in the world for that kind of out of home advertising. amazing to see that digital has already got up to 67% in its short time. But yeah, there will always be some place for paper and paste. Actually, what the question is how much more can the whole out of home world grow? You know, if 67% is the ceiling for digital out of home, or maybe there's a little bit of growth there, then the rest of the growth, I think, will be coming from other channels, which is actually what we're seeing firsthand anyway, which is brilliant. We're taking money from places like YouTube,
I
which
was going
everyone
to say, who's
ordered.
coming for you? Because they're all going to be gunning for you now. Who is it? So it's you reckon YouTube?
Well, I think it's the reverse. I think we're coming for them, if
Oh,
anything, actually.
okay. Fine talk
Programmatic.
from Tom.
I'm going to regret saying that, aren't I? Programmatic out of home is it's a growing channel, and actually, people are over leveraged in other digital channels, and they are redistributing their revenue into growing places like programmatic out of home. HFSS has helped push that forward with FMCG brands, and yeah, I think this is the space that is growing. We've also got to look at audio, which I think is another interesting area that's growing quite a lot. You know, well, we're on a podcast right now, aren't we, Julia?
I
But
know. Look at the power of the
yeah,
podcasts.
but they are growing a lot. I've started investing my time into listening to podcasts, which I was a bit of a skeptic at first. I know Netflix are dipping their toe into it, so you've got to put audio in there. I saw that you had Andrea Tortini on here as well, and he's leading the charge on the LMM side of things. So is ChatGPT set to launch ads in that platform soon? You've got to watch out for that, I think, as well. I think it's quite an exciting time for ad tech, actually. There's a lot of change. The old guard, the old way of booking and planning campaigns, I think, is changing a little bit, and I'm here for it.
I do well. If you saw what we used to do in 1905 with a spreadsheet and going, what figures will I put down? Thank God it's changed from there. I've got a couple more questions before we're going to go to a different segment of this new season. But I've got to ask, so out of home, the ads can be put in some pretty wild places. I think I'm curious as to what's the most in demand environment, and is there a environment that you go, that's where you think the money's at, that's where you can see there being a new out of home kind of place that it would work?
Well, interestingly, it's actually still probably the most traditional places that we see the most demand for. The outdoor billboards, outdoor urban panels, bus shelters, and then train stations, underground screens. That is where people's brains go when you think about out of home. So that's going to be a core part of the plan. However, what programmatic is offering the space is the ability to put unique and different types of environments alongside that, like sort of base, traditional, let's call it plan. So screens in offices, screens in gyms, university campuses. Probably seen the guys that ride around on the mopeds as well with the ads on. Those ones are pretty cool. So yeah, interestingly, it's still probably the most traditional placements in terms of outdoor and transit screens, but we get to add in a few more interesting things into the mix as well. And actually, when you plan with an audience, you don't really think necessarily environment first. You just think audience profile first, and let the tech decide where things should be delivered and when they should be delivered.
Putting the consumer first, always a good plan. Now we come to the new section, which is the 3 fiery takes. So in this section, I'm going to challenge Tom to give the 3 hottest takes for digital out of home. These could be controversial opinions, hopes for the future, things that are happening, things that will happen. Are you ready, Tom Barbour? 3 fiery takes, go.
I had to be careful not to be too controversial, but I know I'm going to try and give you something. I'm trying to give you something here. I run them through my husband before I've just in case I'm going to piss anyone off. So first of all, I think the independent agencies historically have been much better at adopting programmatic out of home than the holdco businesses. It might not be rocket science to work that out. They're smaller, they're more nimble, they can
more agile.
Exactly, they can adopt new technologies. It's been brilliant for them. They've been using things like programmatic out of home tech to win clients and advertisers from the big holdcos. They're increasing their budgets by adopting multi-market campaigns for out of home, which they weren't previously able to do. So yeah, I think that is an area that the holdcos have historically been weaker at. But that actually comes and takes me on to my next hot take, which is that currently I'm seeing the out of home teams at the big agencies, the big holdco agencies, massively lean into programmatic out of home. And this is not something that I saw when I first came into the space. So I think this is a tip that I've learned from being on the ground. if we talk about the publicists, for example, when I first came in, they weren't necessarily set up to manage the adoption and planning and buying of out of home campaigns programmatically. But yeah, within the last even 2 or 3 months, places like Publicis and Omnicom are actually starting to really lean into it. And I think it's important for those out of home teams to do that. Ultimately, it's a planning and buying tool for their channel. And I think if they're not leaning in, then they will potentially get left behind or be left with egg on their face when it comes to speaking to clients when the clients have got questions about this new technology.
Definitely lean in or risk stepping right out and not being able to
And
keep up.
just so I can cover my back, they are doing that.
And what's your third and final Tom's fiery take?
The UK out of home world has been slower to adopt programmatic out of home, which I find quite interesting because historically the UK is a massive market leader when it comes to ad tech, as you'll know, Julia, with the tension and contextual and things like that. We're always first to the punch. However, out of home being such a traditional market in the UK has been a bit slower to get there, particularly with the media owners. They are moving forward, they're getting on side. But one big thing that I think they could change, which is what's done in a lot of other markets, is that they could allow their inventory to be accessed on the open exchange, which would make planning and buying a lot easier for programmatic out of home.
I think that's a really fair, just have interest, just because I'm curious, who is leading the march? If it's not the UK, you're going to say US, aren't you?
Well, the US, so yeah, the US is around 25% of all out of home activities planned and booked programmatically. There's actually higher percentages across Europe. Germany and the Netherlands are between 30 and 40%. So yeah, it's not just the US. It is pretty much all of the rest of the developed ad tech world is above the UK. But we're getting there.
Do you know what though, Tom? I actually think that makes it even more exciting for you working in it because I always love to get in things right at the start and then see it grow, and you've got the most amount of potential to move the needle and show that you can make a difference. So go on the UK market, led by Tom Barbour. Let's get Vistar Media in the mix. Right, Tom, final part, quick fire round. It's back, bigger than ever. Are you ready, Tom Barbour?
Let's go.
Salespeople often have rituals and superstitions. Do you have any?
To be honest, preparation's obviously really, really key here. So I don't think I have too many superstitions or rituals or anything like that. Just a lot of hard work, being in the right place at the right time. And I tell you what does really help, a nice expense account.
Do you know what? I've got really weird, well, I've got loads of superstitions. I'm no, good morning, Mr. Magpie, how are you today? But I also have to, on a Monday to Friday, I have to drink out this digital voice mug. And then I have a different mug for a Saturday, different mug for a Sunday. I think I'm going insane. I've got loads of other superstitions that I think I'm losing the plot, Tom. Right, next question. What's your go-to sales move?
I don't necessarily have a move as such. I think it's all just relationship based in this industry. It's not like a hard sales job. Well, I say a hard sales. It can be a tough sales job. It's not like a really
You
aggressive.
don't have to hard sell it.
Exactly. So yeah, I think it's just all about the relationships that you've built, and over time, these things become easier because you've known people for a long time.
People buy people. Always the way. I've got my next one. Sales often has a bad reputation. Fair or unfair?
I mean, I don't even like cold callers, to be honest with you. So like, there can be, yeah, kind of fair, I would say, but it depends what you're selling and the approach that you take. I think it comes back to the relationship stuff. Like, I mean, I'm not calling people up, and I think this industry is a lot different in terms of the approach to sales. So yeah, probably fair in some in some respects.
Yeah, in some ways. Good sales. I'm a nightmare. A salesperson calls me because I'm trained in Dipiter, AIDA, and the lot. And I'm like, let me stop you there. Let's start with finding out what my needs are and then showing me how your product can work. So let's start it again. They cannot wait to get off the call from me. I'm a nightmare. Next one. Do you actually have to love working in sales or can you just be really good at it? Do you think people are natural salespeople?
I mean, you have the personality or not, I believe, to be honest with you, but passion 100% helps. Like, I've been in roles in the past where you've been maybe stayed a little bit too long and you lose your love for that product or, that company. And when you are invigorated and you're working on a project that you believe in, it is much easier to get out of bed in the morning and to push on and to have those 20, 30 meetings a week that you want to try and get in. So look, it's not essential, but it really, really does help to make your life a lot easier. You just have to then be careful not to let it consume everything, which it can, especially in out of home when you're just walking down the street and it just follows you everywhere.
Oh my God, I bet you bore the shit out of
Oh
people when
my
you're like, look
God.
at that creation. That's probably hyper targeted to this. Your husband, how many times do you get out with your husband and go, I sold that one?
All the time. He's absolutely sick of it. Even when we go on holiday, I'm like, oh, I didn't realize Thailand had digital out of home. I wonder if it's programmatically enabled.
Yeah, you're officially sad, and I love it, Tom. So if you love it, if you love sales, that's your passion, to select a company or a product that you are passionate about, that you really believe in. On the reverse side, what drains you about sales?
It's tiring. It is a tiring job. You've got a lot to do. There's always pressure. You've got targets that are never going anywhere. Even if you finish one in the middle of a quarter, you're still then thinking about the next quarter. Um, yeah, the management, if that is, goes pear-shaped, that can be difficult. Unrealistic growth expectations from businesses. There are a lot of challenges in sales, but I still think the benefits outweigh everything. You've got a lot of autonomy. You've got, the freedom to sort of plan your own schedule. So look, there's a lot of rubbish in lots of jobs, isn't there?
Very final question. I mean, it's kind of a succinct answer, and this is for our brilliant, and I feel very sorry for them right now, grads out there.
Yeah.
I want you to sell a career in programmatic digital out of home as if it's to a brand new grad entering the market. How would you do it?
Why not join an industry that is future facing and poised for growth? There is a lot of potential in this industry, as we've sort of gone through in this podcast. The IAB predicts 17% growth by 2027. Get yourself in a place that's going to grow and you can grow with it. You can take all the credit like I'm doing right now.
Absolutely love that. Thank you so much, Tom. That's been amazing. And I think, in a way, it's a sector that's had such a huge glow up. It's clearly making waves. If you're interested in getting into digital out of home, now's probably the time to get on that, because it's about to rocket. So many good tips and tricks for sales as well. Always a pleasure to talk to a fellow salesperson. So, Tom, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Julia. So good to see you and chat.
To close out this session, whether digital out of home is the most underrated channel in media right now or simply the most misunderstood, that's up to you as listeners to decide. If you've got a fiery take on digital out of home or any part of the industry, we want to hear about it. Before we go, I want to say a quick thank you to our Season 3 partner, Revving. Revving believes that digital businesses shouldn't have to wait for their revenue. You earned it and you should be able to access it immediately in any currency. And through a suite of fully automated solutions, Revving empowers digital businesses to take control of their cash flow and unlock that growth without friction. You can find out more at revving.io, and we're really grateful and thank you, Revving, for partnering with us on this season of Legends of Adtech. If you enjoyed today's conversation, don't forget to rate, review, and share the episode. And of course, be sure to follow to never miss an episode and a single legend. Until next time, I'm Julia Linehan. Keep it juicy.